All right. So since today is our first class, okay, just double check with that. Everyone can hear me okay? Can anyone can just unmute yourself and tell me if you can hear me okay, that should be fine.
Yeah, okay, we can hear you.
All right, perfect. So today's our first class. So where are you gonna start with, right? So the first thing first, we're gonna start with what is software. It's a very simple stuff, but most of them may don't know exactly how the software works or what type of the software we do have it, right? So software is nothing, but it's just something called is a programs which operate the computer and the related device. So if I can consider the computer, right? So the computer, everyone can use the computer, right? So computer need the software or computer need the program to run the software. And related device, what is called related device mean? Related device means like, let's say like you're gonna use any iPad, any mobile. So everything required to have the software to run it. So basically like once you can start with the software, how that software basically works, right? Let's say I do have the hardware, any type of hardware I do have it, mobile or laptop or iPad. So these hardware need operating system. So operating system is one type of software. Then this operating system also forward with software applications or application software, which is all different type of application we're going to use. So what are the different type of application we're going to use? We do have Facebook, we do have Amazon, we have Microsoft, we have Zoom, everything called software. So who's going to use the software? User. So who is the user? You and me is the user. So basically, the software is needed. So basically, the software is needed to run the hardware, right? So once you have the hardware, make sure that hardware needs to operate. And once the hardware is operating the whole thing, then we do have the application and the software. Then user can use that. And once user start using it, then user need to input something on the application, then it goes back to again the operating system and lead operating system to the hardware. So this is basically the very basic cycle for how to use the software. So if you have any question in this phase, let me know, then I can move forward with that. But software is nothing but is a program that operate the computer and the related device. And this is the very basic chart where you can see basically how the user can use the hardware and software. So the hardware is basically nothing but the laptop and the mobile. Very simple way of thinking about that. Then each and every hardware need the operating system, right? So once we have the operating system to run the hardware, then you have the software which end user means you and me or everyone, we're using that application. Then we can use that application, we do some input, we do something on the application, then it flows back to the operating system and the hardware get response, then we can able to use that application. All right. So after this, what are the different type of software we do have? So in general, so we do have three different type of software. First thing first is the system software. What it called the system software? System software is nothing but just the operating system. So we do have different type of operating system. Mostly Windows, Microsoft OS, Android, and iOS. These four are the operating most commonly used system software we do have it, which is called the operating software. So for Windows, where are you going to use the Windows? So normally every laptop where you have it, we're going to use the Windows, right? Then Android, whoever has like the Android phone, they're going to use the Android application. Whoever use the iPhone, they have the iOS in their system or the operating system, they're going to use it. And the Mac, basically, whoever use the MacBook or the Mac laptop, they're going to use the Mac OS. So the system software or the system application or software, whatever you call, right? So the system software only used to operate the device, nothing else on it. We're not going to focus on the system software. So the second thing is utility software. Utility software is nothing but we do have the security issues or the optimization program, right? So what is called the security issue? So when you have the laptop and when you have the Windows, so Windows can run the hardware or the laptop, right? But once you run the Windows, so you need the antivirus to protect or the secure your laptop. So utility software is one kind of utility software is the security programs, which means the antivirus software. Then optimization is basically like they're going to work with some of the software working with the background, which is clean up the disk or file, compress the file, those things. So these two are the very basic stuff to run the hardware and secure the hardware, which is laptop and phone and tablets. But as a QA, our focus is to be here. This is the part basically we need to focus on. So far, whatever I'm talking about, this system and utility software, except these two, whatever we do have it in the market or whatever we do have it as of now, everything is the application software. So the simple thing is whatever you can see in your laptop, in your phone, wherever you go, wherever you can see any type of program is a software or applications. So we're going to focus on this. So this is our main focus. So out of this application software, there are three most important software we do have it. One is the desktop application, another one is web application, and the third one is mobile application. Now, what is desktop application? Desktop application is nothing but like in your laptop, once you can open it, you can see in the start menu, there's a lot of applications are there, right? Let me pull mine. So I can see the Paint, snipping tools. I can see OneNote, Outlook, PowerPoint, Excel. These are the desktop application. Now, the second thing is web application. What is web application? Can you just hold on 1 second? Is someone having issues to joining in the call, I think. Okay, sorry for that. All right. What is the web application? So web application, basically, all you need to do, just click on any browser and type www.google.com. That's a web application. So the web application basically is going to be sits on the web, not in the desktop. So desktop application, you can see the icon in the desktop, but the web application, you cannot see any icon in the desktop. All you can see is basically the URL. So it's run mostly by the internet. For the mobile application, is the same thing, but it's a mix of internet and mobile. Why I'm saying mostly run by internet and mobile, let's say I already download Amazon, right? On my phone. But if I don't have any internet, am I able to use that Amazon app or Netflix? I cannot see anything because I need to connect with the internet to run this application or run this software. Similar way, the web application is heavily dependent with the internet. I do have the URL, like the Google, I do have it, right? But without any internet, I cannot use the Google. But desktop application or the desktop software we're talking about, it doesn't matter. Even though I don't have the internet connection, still I can use the Excel. Still I can use this sleeping tool. Still I can use this paint. Still I can use the calculator. So our focus is to be these three. Even though once you can get a job or apply for the job, you'll be basically the software application or the software QA, manual or automation testing. You're focusing on this. That's why we're called application of the software, manual and automation testing. So you're basically focusing on these three parts, right? So far, you guys have any questions about the basic stuff?
This is Noor Mamoon.
Yes.
Yeah, I know I was a little late because my new computer laptop I bought as a getaway. It looked like it's not charging, so I was on the phone. So that, so I don't know. It's on the phone. I don't know how much it's going to be benefit for me.
So I will talk to you later, and you can just attend the session, then you're gonna get the video after that, but I'll reach out to you after the class, okay?
Oh, thank you.
All right, okay. And anyone has any other questions about this topic? What is called software, or what are the different type of software we have? I don't think anyone has any question, but I'll just quickly recap on it, okay? So what is called software? Software is nothing but a program which is operate the computer and the related device. And how you're gonna use the software basically, once we have the hardware, let's say the laptop or phone, we need to run that hardware on the phone buying the operating system, right? So once we have the operating system, then we can install the application, then user can use it, then user can input something on those applications. This goes back to the operating system, respond with the hardware, then user can able to use that application. Then what are the three different type of computer software we have it? One is the system, another one is the utility software, and another one is application software. The system software is nothing but to run the hardware, which is like Windows, Android, iOS, or Mac, right? Then utility software is basically a support or secure the device, which is like the antivirus or any type of like the security software, or clean up the disk or file optimization and all those things. So they're going to help you with that. And application software is basically our focus is to be here. To application software is we're going to cover the three different topics in the application software. One is the desktop application, one is the web application, and another one is the mobile application. So the desktop application, where you can see in your laptop or the desktop, is a desktop application which is may not require to internet to run it. And the second one is web application, which is you must have the internet to run that web application. And the mobile application is sometimes both required, sometimes it's not required. Means if you have the internet, you can run that mobile application, as I told you, like the Amazon or Google. But if you have already downloaded some game and which doesn't require to have the internet connection, still you can play the game, right? So it's a required for the both. So even though if you have internet, you can run that mobile application, some of it. If you don't have internet, still you can run this. So this is the first phase. Let me start with software testing lifecycle. So software testing lifecycle is nothing but to develop a software. So software testing lifecycle has like the 6 or 7 phases. So this is most important. All you need to remember all these 6 or 7 steps. All right. And once you have, these are very common questions. Not only the common question, this is the first question in the interview. They're going to ask you, explain how the SDLC work in your past or the current projects, or how you implement the SDLC. So this is most important to understand how the software process running or how to develop a software. This is very easy. Okay, I'm going to start with very easy way. All right. Let's do. Let's start with. Okay. I'm going to build a community. Okay. I'm building a small community. So once I can build a small community, let's say I have 6 or 7 houses in that community, right? Let's say 5, 6, 7, whatever. Let's say 5 houses in the community. So similar way, if I can consider this whole community as a software company, then each single house has a different software. That means what? Let's say like if I can build a community, I cannot build only one house in the community to build the whole community house, right? So I need multiple houses to build a community. Similar way, if you work in any of the company, so they have multiple software to run their business or to run the company. Now, if I can consider, let's say, building just a single one house. So this phase, let's say I build a single house, right? I just build a single house. To build this house, what I need to do, or what is the first step I need to do? This is a brand new house I'm trying to build. So first thing first, I need to make a plan. Without plan, I cannot build this house. Then what I need to do, I need to think about, after the planning, I need to think about what are the requirements or exactly what type of things I need to build this house. Because I need to know like how many windows I want, how many doors I want, then how many square feet this need to be. So this is my second thing. Once I do the plan to build that house, then I need the requirements, right? After I do have the requirements, what I need to do? I need to settle the design. So without design, I cannot do anything. Without the design, I cannot build this house. So once I do have settled the design, what I need to do? I need to build this house, which is implementation, right? I need to build this house. Okay, whoever lives in US, or we all lives in USA, right? So basically in USA, they have some rules, even though for the new houses, once you build that house, before you get the occupancy certificate, that means like you're gonna leave that house, someone coming from the city and making sure that this house is exactly for living, means they're gonna check the electricity, the water line, gas lines, and everything. That means they're gonna test or inspect the house before someone use this house or someone live that house, right? Then once the house is ready, then we close the house. Then whoever lives that house, they are going to maintain the house like the regular maintenance, right? So far you have any questions? Okay, so it's a very simple process, right? So
Yes.
what I'm gonna do in the first, basically to build this house, I make a plan. Then I'm trying to gather all the requirements. Once I do have the requirements, then I made the design for it. Then I made this house. Then inspector come and check. Then whoever lives in the house, they maintain. So for the planning, basically what I do, I need to make sure that where I'm gonna build that house for the requirements for this house is what? How many door I want, how many square feet, how many windows, and other stuff, right? Then design based on my requirement, I made that design. Then once the design is done, I need to build that house. And once the house is built, then inspector come from the city, making sure that they're gonna give us the occupancy certificate. Someone can live that house, and whoever live that house, they're gonna maintain that house, right? Okay, so this is the basic thing. Similar way we can apply to the software development lifecycle. For the software development lifecycle, we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna start with the planning, then requirement, then design the software, then develop that software, then we do the testing, then we deploy that software, then after that, the maintenance. Now, this is, I think, the more feasible for you guys to understand how it's gonna work. So the software development lifecycle, as I told you, planning. So for the software development or to develop the software, what is the planning for that software development? So basically the planning is what type of things is required or who is going to use that software or why I need this software. So this is the planning phase. In the planning phase, normally everyone think about, okay, if I can make this software, so does it going to help to the end user? Who is the end user? End user is everywhere in the market, you, me, and the others, right? So based on that analysis or based on the company or based on the client requirement, they make some type of plan to making sure that is that important or not. If they feel like it's necessary, then they can make a plan for that particular software. Then comes in the second phase is the requirement. Similar way, building the house, right? So what is the requirement? Let's say the requirement I'm talking about, okay, let me draw that picture so it's gonna be easier for you guys to understand. Draw the picture. All right. So for the planning phase, let's say like I'm trying to build one software, which is called ABC software. So ABC software I'm trying to build. Now, what does that ABC software gonna do? This ABC software gonna help to save the kids, let's say, right? So if I consider the company or the client, they are trying to make a plan to build one software, which is called ABC, right? Now, the next phase would be the requirements. Requirements is basically why I am going to build that software and what are the things are involved with that software so that the end user can use that software. Let's say the Facebook, right? So the Facebook, where are you going to use the Facebook? We're going to use the Facebook for socializing, right? So we do have adding the friends, we post, we comments, like, we do shopping, we do find the things. There's a lot of things involved in the Facebook. So before they build the Facebook, they're thinking about in the planning session, okay, what are you gonna do? We are gonna build a software, which is basically the social software, socializing software, which is called the Facebook. Then they put the requirement. In the first requirement, they can add friends. They can add friend. They can create profile. They can create profile. Then the third thing they said, like, you can post something and your friends can see that. So they have like the thousands of requirement involved with it. Once they settle that requirement, then it's going to come to the next phase, which is designing phase. Now they decide how they're going to design that application. So once the designing is done, they move that design to the coding. Coding means like they're trying to build that application based on design and the requirement. So once this phase is done, which is the coding part is done, they're gonna send for someone who can test or validate that particular requirement and design both. So this is us basically. So this is basically QA. So you guys are trying to focus on this field here as a QA. And coding, basically developer does that coding. So developer works in here. So once you can validate or once you verified everything is working fine, they're gonna push to the deployment phase, which is in the production phase. Production phase means all you can see as of today, how the Facebooks are in your phone or in your laptop. So there's a deployment phase, the live application. Then after that, they go for the maintenance phase. Let me pull another picture, which is this one, so that you guys can understand a little more how that each phases work and who are the responsible person for it. Okay, so as I told you, right? So they didn't put the planning here, but the planning and analysis, they put it here in the first phase. So who is the product owner? You see the product owner, project manager, business analyst, and CTO. CTO means like the chief technical officer. So this phase is in the planning and the requirement analysis phase. Planning and the requirement analysis phase. These are the responsible person. They are basically working to make the plan settle down for each and every software. Even though like once you're working in company, like the software company or any of the companies, you have these people you can see day-to-day life. Business analyst, project manager, and the product owner. You can see them day-to-day life basically. So this is the phase they're working with them, the analysis part on it. The designing phase. Designing phase, basically the system architect mostly working in the designing phase. And once they have the system architect finalize that design, is moved to the development team, which is the front end and the back end developers. So once the developer develop that particular application, they're going to straight ahead send it to the QA. So the QA has like the solution architect, QA engineer, tester, and DevOps. So we are focusing on these two fields here, QA engineer and the tester. Then similar way, it comes to the deployment. And after the deployment, this comes to the maintenance. So the deployment has a different folks on it, which is like the data admin and the DevOps as well. And the maintenance phases user is the most important. Then they have, again, they have that separate type of the tester. We can cover this topic later on in our class. And the support managers or support management team, they have it to maintain the whole application. So far, you guys have any questions about software development lifecycle? Because this is very important. I need to making sure that everyone can understand this part very clearly. Because you're gonna come at least like 2 to 3 questions in the interview board. They're gonna ask I can see like all interviews, they're gonna ask the similar questions. Like, can you explain your software development lifecycle or SDLC, what are the phases they have or how you implement that SDLC in your last project or the current projects, or how many phases, or like, can you explain like the brief descriptions of software development lifecycle. That's what I'm trying to focus on more on the software development lifecycle here. But this is basically the process to build a application, right? So where you're going to start with the first phase? The first phase will be the planning, right? Again, so I'm going to just go over like quickly to understand like everything is clear or not. So it's a recap basically. So planning. So what is the planning? Planning is basically like if the client or the company is required to launch something, they need to make a plan for the basic stuff for the software, right? So once they have the planning, once the planning session is done, basically the next thing is the requirement gathering. Where they're going to get the requirements? So they're going to get the requirements based on the end user, or what exactly they're trying to put in the market, or what the application does have all the features on it. So based on the feature, based on the market requires, they're gonna get the requirements from various kind of sources and make that requirements. And after making that requirements, they're gonna move to the designing phase. The designing phase basically is going to help to making sure that how the software look like and how it's gonna work. Then like once the designing phase will be done, there's gonna move to the deployment or the coding phase, which is like the developer going to work to build that particular application. Then once the developer build that application, they're gonna send it for the testing, which is QA. We are focusing on that, right? So we're gonna work with the QA testing, or like we're gonna focusing on to test that particular application. Then once the QA is the person, basically they're gonna say yes if it's working or not. Based on that, if you say yes, they're gonna push to the deployment in the next phase. And deployment, it means like everything is on the live application. Then it's gonna go to the last phase, is the maintenance. So far, any questions? Anything you need to understand? I'm expecting a lot of questions from you guys.
Can you repeat the development part?
Deployment part?
Yeah, development part, yeah.
Okay. So the deployment part is basically like once you have that application ready, then after that, like you are going to test the application, right? Where are you going to put that application? It's Tanim, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So where are you going to put that application? We're going to put that application in where?
The
in the
market?
server, right?
Yeah.
No, in the server, which
Okay.
is like, okay, similar way you can, the simplest way you can think, like once you can type www.google.com, right?
Okay.
It's something connecting with the server, right? So once I have that application ready, I need to deploy that to where? to the server. So the
Okay.
server means like once I can have that URL open, like once I have that Google Chrome or IE open and just type www.google.com, that's the deployment environment basically. So the
Oh.
deployment phase is coming up a little later because there's a lot of things need to cover on it. That's what I didn't go over like the most in depth for the deployment thing, right? So this is the place where you can put the software.
Okay.
Means like everyone can go and see the software. This is the phase to deploy,
Got it.
right? This is
Yeah.
the point to deploy the software so that everyone can use that. So this is the deployment phase. And anyone has any other questions about like the planning, requirement, design, coding, testing phase? Okay, if you don't have any questions, good. All right, it's good for me. Okay, all right, for the testing basically. So since we are going to focus on the testing, oh, Shaheen has the questions. Okay, yes, brother, you can tell. Go ahead.
I had a quick question. So, so the SDLC, the phases, if anything goes wrong, does it go back the other way, or does it just stay on maintenance?
No. That the one you're talking about, they have the methodologies basically we need to apply to build the software. I'm going to come up in the next phase on that.
Okay, gotcha.
That's another topic we need to cover for this.
Mhm.
So we are going to be in the very high level phase as of now. So it's basically like how the software works. This is a very high level phase. But you're talking about the methodologies. So the methodology is coming in the next. So the testing basically, as a QA or as a QA engineer or QA tester, what we are going to focus for that software development lifecycle. So we are focusing on few more stuff. If you guys have a note, like notebook and the pen, I would prefer to write it down those things. So those are the most important topics basically. So you can write it down. So as a QA, our focus is the first thing, who is the developer or the developer making some, developer develops some code and send it to QA. You need to validate that code, not the coding phase, but like you need to validate that software or application. This is our first thing you need to do. Second thing is like once you start validating that application, you're trying to see is that the application is working fine or not. If it's working fine, then you will have to making sure that what is the basic requirement for that application? What are the functionalities involved with it? Is all the functionalities is working fine or not? Then if we can find any problem, which is called bug in application, then you need to figure out, is that the real problem or not? Now, how I can check that is a real problem or not? I do have some of the requirement documents which need to provide by the designing team. So what are the requirement documents? Basically, we do have it. We do have few more requirement documents. First thing first is a business requirement document, the simplest one. I have here some of the business requirement documents. I can show it to you, which is one is I do have the real-time projects document, and one I have a couple of sample documents as well. Let me open all of it. We're gonna back to that SDLC over and over because this is our bread and butter for like, if you're gonna work as a QA, you need to know all the phases, and like the explanation of SDLC, what I have done so far is just a very basic thing. Now we're trying to deep dive into each phases, how the planning works, then how the requirement works, how the design works. So we're going to deep dive into each and every phases. Okay, this is one document, and this is another one. Okay, so after the planning, right? So planning is basically done by the business. First thing first. So planning is done by the business or the client. Who is the business or who is the client? Okay, let's say if I work for Delta or if I work for Facebook, let's talk about the Facebook. It's going to be easier for you to understand. So if I work for the Facebook, so who is my business folks? So in the Facebook company, they have certain team. They are basically, their work is to build the business. Now, how they're going to build the business? Using that Facebook, they're going to make some money. Not some, I think they're making billions. So they're making billions of dollars, right? So the business team basically try to identify the problem, trying to see what are the hot topic or what are the way people can more involved in the Facebook. And more people involved in the Facebook means like more people open their account, more people use the Facebook means like they're gonna make more money. So the business, basically the business team in their Facebook company, they're trying to make a plan to build the application in the first place. So once they have the certain plan, they're gonna move that planning phase to the requirement analysis team so that they can gather the requirement how to build that application or the software. So this is one kind of business team. Now, who is the client? I'm saying this client or the business over and over, right? So client, let's say I have a software development company and I need some client, otherwise I cannot do the business, right? So whatever the client requirement or whatever the client trying to tell me, based on that, I need to build some application. So let's say like the Facebook is trying to build one of the feature or add something on their existing application. They're trying to hire a third party company and saying that, okay, I have this requirement. Can you build this software for me? They say yes. So for the third party companies, they consider Facebook as their client. So basically the planning phase and the requirement phase is coming from two different teams. One is either business and the second one is the client. So if you get a job or work for like the company who has working with their own application, then you're going to talk to directly with the business. So the business people can make that plan, gather the requirement. And if you work with the consulting company or consulting organizations, so they're going to basically talk to the client, get the planning requirements, and after that, we're going to start building the application. So second phase, the requirement, right? So the requirement phase, whoever work on the requirement phase, basically the business analyst are the most important person who is gathering the requirement or getting all the application information from the business or the clients. And once they have that requirement, based on that requirement, they are trying to build a document, which document is help to build the application. So that the document we call the business requirement document, or short form is BRD. Now, they're not going to build or create only one document. They're building multiple documents. They're building business requirement documents, UI specs. They're building application application chart flow, they're building use cases. So we're gonna go over all of it only because of you guys need to understand, because this is your first phase to read that document and start working with. Let's say like you're gonna go to the office, you're gonna get a job, right? You get the job, you go to the office in the first day, they're saying like, okay, you have a meeting and like, you're gonna start something with testing phase. Now, the problem is how I can start, where I need to start, right? I don't know like what are the application I need to work with. So this is the document basically you need to cover or you need to read, you need to like, know in depth so that like you can understand which type of application you need to work with or what type of things you need to consider to run those type of application. So business requirement document, they're going to describe everything in the business requirement document. So the business requirement, these are the sample business requirement document, but I'm going to send it to you all of this business requirement document so you can take a look at that in the later on. But this business requirement document is just a sample. All right. Most important thing in here, you see the table here. They're saying like, the project details overview. So once I can go to the project details, they can explain what the project type is or how that the project should look like or what are the application we are trying to work with. So you can get more information here. They have a lot of stuff in here, but all you need to do, we need to focus on some particular stuff to understand exactly how that application need to work. So we are only focusing on use case and the business requirements. So if I can read the business requirements, then I can tell you that like, okay, this is the way that application should be working or not. One second. Let me go here. Okay, so for the project details, basically all you can see, they have the name of the projects, they have the start date, end date, supervisor name on it, and like, the project manager name, which department need to work with that. Then also like overview, they can just simply they tell you like, what type of design is over there, what level of risks they have it in the projects. So this is very simple stuff. But these things are basically, this is the document required for all of the department. Not only for the QA, is required for developers, QA, and the other folks in the team, basically like, the system engineer, then you have the database admin. So they're all going to focus on the same document. But our focus is to only take a look at that, the use case. So what is use case or the use case design and this type of stuff here, you can see the use case navigation. These things you can follow. So this is the sample one. So you cannot see there's a lot of things are empty. So this is very basic stuff you can see. So the use case basically looks like this. So I have another document here, which is the real document. This is the real projects document. That's why I pulled this document later on. Okay. This is the real project document. So this is one of the project called website refresh. So if I can take a look at the document, I want to go over this document quickly because it's almost 9, but like, yeah. Beginning of the document, you don't need to see anything. This is just the name, summary and stuff, but the main focus is business objects. You see this, the business objects. So each and every application, as I told you, right, after the planning session, once they have the requirement, then they make the business objects. Business objects means like why that application is required for us to build, and what are the things we need to improve, or what are the things we need to add that particular application. So the business objects, if you can read that business objects, so you can understand exactly how that application works. Then after the business objects is done, then you're focusing on the functionality. So, okay, let me go over this one quickly. So this is, they said like what are the browsers they need to support. Then like, what are the application, what are the browser need to support, like, the Windows and all those things for this particular application. But this is the very vast information in here, so you don't need to consider this. So you see the section 4, the business and functional requirement. This is our first thing first to read. Once I get a job, go to the office, I'm gonna ask my manager or the senior saying that like, okay, since like today's the first day in my office, would you please provide me like, okay, would you please tell me the what type of projects or which projects I'm gonna work on with that. So if you have like the related document, can you please provide those documents so that I can take a look at those documents and get some idea how the application flows work. That's your first thing first to ask your manager or your senior. So once I have this document, basically they're going to give you the similar type of document. So once you have this document, so you're going to focusing on business and functional requirement part. So business and the functional requirement part is nothing but they're going to tell you, let's say online banking homepage login. So this is one of the application, they have the online banking feature on it. So they said like, you need to go or like you need to log in to that online banking homepage. Similar way, if I can consider in the Facebook, they put it here. They said like, okay, Facebook homepage login. So this is the first requirement, because without login, I cannot get into the Facebook, right? So similar way, they have a lot of requirement, and for the requirement, they select, the PR001, the 702. So this is the projects, real-time projects requirement document. So similar way, you can see a lot of requirement documents in here. So all you can see this step by step, you need to read few more stuff once you're going to go to the office in the first day. Then you can understand exactly how the application works. Now, easiest way to understand in the other way around. So you have not only the business requirement document, you have the use case as well. So the use case comes with the business application flow, which is kind of this one. This is gonna be, I think this is gonna be too much for today.
All of this is sorry, hi.
Go ahead.
So all of these documents are prepared by PO, PM, and so on, right?
And the business analyst. So you don't need to create the document. So all you need to do, the focusing on document means basically you need to read those documents and understand how the application works. You don't need to create this document. As a QA, we don't have that we don't have that privilege to like create this type of document. So the requirement basically created by the seniors or the business analyst, the PMO, project manager, CTOs, the design architect, and all of them.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, but to understand this document is very important for you. Otherwise, you cannot start work with anything else. So business requirement documents. That's the one thing. Second one is I'm talking about the use case, right? So use case is basically like you can see this is very simple use case. So this is basically you can see here the user and how to interact with this particular functionalities. Now, what is called functionalities? Once we can start writing the test cases and later on the class, I can explain you the functionality, how it's going to identify the scenario functionality. This is the more knowledge you need to gather for it. But like Since let's say consider like the search, navigation, emails, paint, well, print, whatever they have been seen here, right? So these are the each functionalities. So the functionality, like they're gonna put each functionality and they just place you like the one person's picture here, and they said this guy is the end user, right? So they call this type of chart, if you can see in your office. So this is basically your use case. Use case is basically how to interact with the end user. How to interact with the end user means like, I have the search. Search is a simple functionality. If I can go to the Google, right? www.google.com. The first thing first is coming up, one box. What that box called? You need to type something and click on search. So as an end user, which is, if I'm going to use that Google, I'll be the end user, right? So I'm the end user. So what I'm going to do, I need to type and click. So that's why they're mentioned here, whatever the application they're trying to build, they must have one functionality called search. The second one, they say navigate. Let's say Google has the same one. Like if you can go to the Google, after the search, they have the different direction. Even in the right side of the corner, you can see the navigation button. So you can move forward with the next page, previous page, click on the first one, then at the top of it, they have the image, books, other navigation bar on it, right? So same thing, navigation. Then this particular application, they say share or email, means like, let's say if I can consider the gmail.com, right? So the Gmail has like the email feature on it. So after that, like, you know, like if I can type the email, send it to the email. So who is going to use it? The end user. So this is very basic model for the use case. I have the another use case picture, which is all right. Okay, this one is little bit of complicated, but it's good to understand. So how many of you guys are using the ATM machine? I believe all of us can use the ATM machine to withdraw the money, right? Or check your balance, deposit something, right? So let's say this is basically how the ATM machine works. Now, we're day-to-day life, we're gonna use the ATM machine. That's what we know how the ATM machine works. But let's say like in the first phase, once they can build that ATM machine functionality, they need to create this type of diagram or this type of use case to making sure that how that ATM machine work, right? So I'm not gonna go into the depth, but like all you can see here, basically the bank customer. So they need to log in. Login means like once you insert the card, you can have the transactions coming up. Then once you have the transaction pages, what you can do in that machine, basically you have the option to withdraw, check your balance, you can deposit or print the receipt, right? So this is the each function, each circle you can see here, each functionality. So these are the each different type of functionality they need to build to run the whole ATM machine. So the ATM machine is a hardware, right? To run the ATM machine. So now back to the first topic in our class today, right? So we have the hardware. Back to the first topic. Let me pull that topic here so that you can relate that. Back to the first topic here. What do you explain here? We have the hardware. Similar way, we consider the hardware as our ATM machine. So to run the ATM machine, what do we need? We need the operating system. So operating system itself, it's an application, it's itself, it's a software. Then once the hardware can communicate with that operating system, we do have the application, which is we're going to use. If I can go to the ATM now, I can withdraw some money, or I can see the transactions, or I can deposit my check, or I can print the receipt, right? So login starts basically once the application is trying to run. So first thing first, if it's the ATM machine, it's a hardware, they have the operating system to run the ATM machine only. Then inside of the ATM machine, they put one software, which is basically like once you insert the card, so they're trying to log in using your information. Then like once you insert the card, you need to put the PIN number, right? So once you put the PIN number, means like you put your user access, which is your card, then you put the password, which is your secret password, 4-digit or 6-digit password. Then the software itself recognize you are the right person who is going to make some transactions. Then directly, like once they approve that phase in their application, what you can see, there's a first page is coming up saying that the transactions, then they're going to give you the different type of feature for that particular application. So what are the features they're going to provide to you? So they're going to provide to you, you can withdraw, you can deposit your check, or you can deposit the cash money, you can withdraw the cash money, and like once you made the transactions, basically you can print or get the confirmation. So this is very simple stuff. But now I think you guys can relate how the hardware, software, and the operating system is all can work. Because this topic, once I start with this 4 phase here, I think like it's gonna be like hard to understand in the first phase how that like in the hardware software application that the user can relate. But like without this 4, the hardware, operating system, and the application and the user, we cannot do anything. But so this is basically the one of the use case. Now I can show it to you one more thing quickly, then I can wrap up the session today, which is this one is basically one of the application in the live today, which is the Rideshare app. So Rideshare app is this app is running in Europe, and this is their the real-time diagram. One of my friend, I just pulled from there, so I'm lucky to like show it to you how that's gonna work. So basically, like in the Uber, Lyft, they're gonna use the same thing. So let's say like if you can get a job in Uber as a QA engineer or QA analyst, you can able to see this the same document. They have it to run their application. There's a lot of things in here. Don't worry about that because it's very easy to understand. 2 more things here you need to just keep in your mind. All you can see, this is like the diamond shape one. This is, we call the diamond shape here. We call the diamond shape here. We call the diamond shape here, right? So anything you can see the diamond shape, this is time to think. Basically, like you have multiple options to coming up. So this is easiest way to think it. Let's say like whoever gonna use the Uber, I'm pretty sure like everyone know how the Uber works, right? All you need to do, just like sitting on your home, you need to put like where you at, put your destination, send the request, and like some driver can pick up or accept that request. They're gonna come through your house. You need to tell them your code. You can just insert the code, start, and they can drop you off. We say like very simple. But behind that, all the work Uber does is very tough application. Why I'm saying it's tough application. So they build the design the way based on the end user expectation. So end user expectation and the problem. Otherwise, they cannot exist in the market. Let's say like whoever uses the taxi before, is no more taxis here in USA. Like, you know, big other cities is big cities is a different face, but like, you know, let's say talking about Georgia, we see the less taxi, more Uber and Lyft, because it was the big problem to find out the taxi if I need to make a call, or I'll have to go somewhere to catch a taxi. But Uber is like getting your life easier. You can just sit at the home, you can call Uber, they can come and pick it up. So this is the problem they find. So each an application to build, before the application built, they're trying to find the business people or the clients trying to find the problem. Based on the problem, they are trying to see the solutions. They're gonna trying to see like the what is the target market for the end user. They build the design and they develop the application, then they put in the market. So once they build the application, after building that application, someone need to test, which is like the QA. So the QA is the guy, or like the QA is the team, basically. They are trying to validate each and every functionality of that particular application. And like once they test it properly, then they say, okay, thumbs up, application is working fine. Then they can push to the production. Now, this is the business flow. If I can consider the same thing as Uber, right? How the business flow works. Something coming up from the homepage. Each and every application start with the homepage or the landing page. We can say homepage or the landing page. So once they have the homepage or the landing page, all right, then I can see the multiple options in the application. I can have either find a ride, or I can order a food, or I need a delivery. Like Uber has like all those features on it, right? So here basically what I'm talking about, this diamond shape is making the decision. Decision means like if you can have this, or if that one is not working, what do you need to do in the second phase? So diamond shape, all you can see here basically is making a decision. I think it's 9:12. So I'm just gonna quickly wrap up this session today, but I will discuss this session, like continue with this diagram, how to works and how you need to understand those things. I'm gonna cover them in the next week. But before I wrap up the session today, do you guys have any questions about so far what I explained to you? Anyone has any question? No questions at all?
No questions.
Okay, if you don't have any questions, so all of you, I'm just trying to see, like, you know, do you understand what exactly I told you guys about the software development lifecycle, or how the application flow works? Okay, Shaheen, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I think, yeah, it's a clear about it. Just having question. Are you going to share this PowerPoint and the material with us, or is
Yes.
some?
I'm gonna send you, like, you know, all of the document. Like once I cover this, the whole session, basically, like, you know, the SDLC part will be done. I'm gonna send it to you
Hello.
guys so that you guys have
না
like
শেষ হয় না কেন কি হয়েছে? আর 2-1 মিনিটের ভিতর শেষ হবে।
Tanim, I think you're not in mute. Okay, sorry, Shaheen, go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to be more clear on, I think maybe I missed one part, but The business required document, how is that received? Like who,
Okay, so the business requirement documents, basically you can see here in the requirement phase.
mhm.
So once the planning is done, the business requirement documents need to create based on the client or the business ones, right? So who is going to create the business requirement document? The business analyst, they're trying to gather the information from the business or the clients, and based on that information, they are going to create the business requirement documents.
Okay.
All right. Any other question?
I have a question, please.
Go ahead.
When we, our main job is to test the software that's
Correct.
working for the end user. So when we find the problem or the bug, who must solve it? Is it according to how complicated is it? Like if it's simple, we do it, or if it's something with the programming, the programmers will do it.
So our job is to find the problem and report to the developers. That's it. So once you report that problem to the developer going to fix that and send it back to you, and you're going to retest one more time, just making sure that problem is resolved. That's it, done. That's your job basically.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right. If you have any other questions, you can, I think, like, you can reach out to me later on if you're not comfortable to ask anything, or if you have a question, I can clear it right now. And all the documents I can show it to you here. Basically, you're gonna receive all the documents to your email by end of the week. Means like once I cover this SDLC part next class, whatever I can finish up to that class, I'm gonna send you all the documents to you guys, so that like you can take a look at this document, you can read this document.
I do
If
have
you
a
guys don't,
question, if possible, please, regarding this screen that you're showing right now. So in this SDLC phase, it shows like 6 phases, and it shows software testing and software development at the end of the cycle. However, in the PowerPoint,
it's not that, it's a deployment,
okay, that's
not the development. Development and the deployment is two different things.
okay. And that's at that stage or that part considered as the maintenance as well, right?
After that, it comes with the maintenance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but the deployment and development is two different things. So development basically build the software, and deployment is release the software. So the deployment phase I'm gonna cover up in the next, not in the next class, maybe in the future class, basically.
Yeah,
So
actually,
right now we're in the requirement phase.
I couldn't read it, so I thought it's development. It's my bad.
Yeah, right now we're in the planning and the requirement phase, basically. Planning, requirement, and the designing phase. Right now, like we're like, you know, walking around like this 3 topic.
Got it.
All right. All right, guys, I think like if you guys don't have any other questions, so we're just gonna wrap up the session today, and like be there in the next session by 8 so that we can have like a little more time to like, you know, cover it up, because I'll have to wait for at least 5 minutes, and someone can join at 8 and someone can join at 8:05. So like, I don't want to waste any time for you guys. So like, try to be there at sharp 8 so that we can, next class, we can start at 8 o'clock. All right, so you guys all have a good night. I'll talk to you day after tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.